Hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. Since yesterday's video on the Monster Manual, people seem to like it, and I talked about Vigilantes Vigilantes. I went and I got my Vigilantes Vigilantes core rule book. Okay, this is Vigilantes Vigilantes second edition. Okay, this was the revised edition. That's not the year. That's just like the SKU number. Okay, this is, Jeff D did the artwork 1981. There's Jeff D's signature. Superhero role-playing revised rules by Jeff D and Jack Herman. All right, Jeff D did a lot of artwork for role-playing games. He worked for TSR and stuff like that. My favorite was he did the drawing of Thor in the deities and demigods. I showcased that when I talked about the deities and demigods. And Jeff and Jack Herman, not only did he write role-playing games, he also wrote the Vigilantes Vigilantes comic book, and he also wrote I think it was the third volume of Elementals. So he's a writer that I pretty much enjoyed. But I love this cover, and these guys are. Okay, so let's start at the beginning. I'm jumping around. Vigilantes Vigilantes is a Dungeons & Dragons inspired superhero role-playing game. And this is it. You could get this. I mean, I picked this up for $5. I actually have like 4 copies because my first 2 were just destroyed because I got them like in 1982 when they first came out. And I just beat the hell out of them. And I got a couple more still in shrink wrap, so hopefully it'll last me the rest of my life. So I just love this. This is just like classic 4-color superhero comics. That's how the game is supposed to be played. Classic 4-color superhero role playing. And what do I mean by 4-color? I mean like kind of like 70s Marvel and DC, maybe early 80s, but like just fun superhero stuff. I make it a little more modern and critical. I like to up the threat level. And there you go. So let's crack it open and take a look at it. Okay, there's the fantasy games, Roswell, New York. I remember we used to drive up there. My friend's dad used to take us out there. These are the play testers. So, the indicia, and I actually submitted a proposal for like a module and stuff like that, but I just don't have focus. This was, I think, Jeff D's actual character. I think his name was Gauntlet. If I please correct me. I may be wrong. I don't claim to know everything. And this is Scott Bizarre. He owned Fantasy Games Unlimited, and he published the game. Right. And this, I'm not going to go through every page of the book because that's just ridiculous. But so here's the character. Make it up your character. This is everybody, you decide your sex or weight, age and experience points, basic characters. So like Dungeons & Dragons, you got to have endurance, agility, intelligence, charisma, strength. I house ruled will because you just got to have will in a superhero game. Not wisdom, will. So that's something I added on. And here's powers. What you do is you roll the dice. You roll percentile dice, and you can have powers. These are things that are like ingrained into you. Like Superman has the power of flight. Spider-Man has the power to stick to walls. So these are powers. Just so cool. These are devices. Captain America has a shield. Iron Man wears armor. Spider-Man has web shooters. Those are all devices. Batman has a utility belt. And these are magic and psionic items. So that's exactly what they are. Magic or psionic items, like Doctor Strange's Eye of Agamotto. Skills. Batman has a lot of skills. Daredevil has a lot of skills. Elektra has a lot of skills. Magic and psionics. Doctor Strange has magic, obviously, and Charles Xavier would have like psionics. And these are weaknesses. This was something I really thought was cool. You rolled a weakness. So you rolled like I forget the exact numbers because I fudged it with my own house rules. But I think originally you rolled like 1 die 8 plus 2. And that was how many powers you got. And then you got a weakness. So this was controversial. And a lot of people, got a lot of my players or whatever didn't understand it. But you could have a guy with 3 powers on the same team with the guy with 9 powers. But there was if you rolled a purely random character, you weren't always going to get a character that worked together. So I had a finagle factor, and his numbers for me for stats above. I like this. If the heavier you are, you get modifiers to your agility, which makes sense. But as I was saying, like you could have like Thor is on the same team with the Wasp. They are not the same power level. So it is up to me, the GM. I'm always the GM to come up with an adventure that could accommodate all the players. My friend Paul, he always plays big, hulking, strong monstrosities. He just likes to to destroy everything. So he had a character that was called Magnum. And Magnum was basically Magneto and the Hulk mixed together. And I'm not exaggerating. That's how freaking powerful this guy was. And he was on a team with my friend Jan's character, who's called Prometheus. And he was like a detective who had foresight and the ability to regenerate. And he could, create sparks of fire and stuff like that. So he had like limited torch abilities. They were not on the same level. I think at first level, Magnum had like 160 hit points, no exaggeration. And Prometheus at first level had something like 4 hit points. And I also incorporated a means to train and upgrade your powers and get more powerful and buy more powers. But it worked because Jan liked the sleuthing stuff. So he would solve the mysteries and then Paul would kick everybody's ass. And it worked. So you have to figure out what your play is like. So it usually, to me, the breaking in new players is always the hardest part because they don't know and I don't know what they like. Like I like this. Your HTH, your hand-to-hand damage. I just found this to be so refreshing. The stronger you are, the more damage you do. So if you could lift, say, 500 pounds, you look over here, you go like that, you do 1 die 8 damage, and then you pick up a sword. The sword does 1 die 6 plus 1 die 8. So the stronger you are, the more damage your sword does. It just makes so much sense. And then your agility, the better skilled you are, you get higher accuracy. So if your agility was 18, you get a +3 to hit and a +2 to all your damage because you are that quick or that accurate. And if your intelligence was 18, you also get a +1 damage modifier to your damage. So smarter characters do more damage, quicker characters do more damage. I just found that to be so cool. Then here I got to go back. But this is something I like. Okay, so you get a 10. I always said that a 9, 10, or 11 was a baseline human. Your modifier was 1. Okay? Look at that. Your endurance modifier is 1. 9, 10, 1. And what you do is, for your hit points, you multiply these numbers times each other, and that gives you your hit points. Okay? And then it's also by your weight. So you take the hit modifiers, you're going to have 1 for strength, 1 for endurance, 1 for intelligence, 1 for agility, and you multiply them all together, and then you multiply them for a modifier based on your weight, and that's your hit points. So there's no randomness about it. Your stats directly determine your hit points, and I love that. And I know I'm not really showing anything cool, and then here this section is just descriptions of all the powers. I freaking love it. I love this so much. So I wrote like an extensive PDF that modifies just about everything in the book. So I'm actually looking for that online right now. If I was smart, I would have prepped everything. But here we go. So I'll show that at the end. But anyway. So here's descriptions of all the powers. Motivator. Of course, when we were kids, when we got this, we wrote up stats for everyone, like Power Blast. And the range, strength plus endurance divided by 2 inches. The game was designed to be played on a grid where each inch was represented 5 feet. So strength plus endurance. So if your strength is 10 and your endurance is 10, 20 divided by 10. So your Power Blast range is 50 feet. Damage is 1 die 20. Your power cost. That's another thing I like. So not only did you have hit points, but you had a power score. And your power is think of it as your stamina. So if your strength was 10, your endurance was 10, and your agility was 10, your movement rate was 30, and then you add your agility. Say, I'm just doing 10s to make it easy. And you had a 10 intelligence, your power is 40. So you could have 4 hit points, 40 power. And if you lose all your hit points, if you go to 0 hit points, you're knocked unconscious. If you lose all your power points, but you still have hit points, you're fatigued. If you lose all your power points and you lose all your hit points, then you die. So it's kind of hard to die, but that's superheroes for you. It's hard to die. I just found it to be so refreshing, rather than you have 4 hit points and you're dead like in Dungeons & Dragons. My friend Jimmy stole this design and made up his character, the Dark Warrior, and we played that until like we were 14, 15 years old. And then when we got back as adults, I brought back the Dark. He was like all surprised, so he finally got to like finish the story of the Dark Warrior. He's pretty happy about that. And there's the experience points chart to go up. Notice that there's a huge mistake over here. There's a pattern. So I actually went online and got a new chart. This is training. So each time you go up a level, you could train. You could lose weight, gain weight, put a +1 to your strength or any one of your stats, combat accuracy. So you could, like I always say in the story, this power creep happens. So you get more powerful. And then I came up with a system of actually buying new powers, because like the Invisible Woman all of a sudden got like force fields. And this is the heart of the game. This is the combat chart. So there's no character classes, there's nothing. So this is hand to hand. So if everything, without any modifiers, you have, you want to roll low. So if you roll a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's what that number, you hit. And that sounds pretty bad, but everybody has modifiers. If you're a superhero and you don't have modifiers, you're not going to be out in the field too long. And then these base numbers are the base numbers to hit if you don't have a defense. But if you have a defense, you go down the line. So, if you have an android body, it's a little harder to hit. It just makes so much sense if you have bionics and stuff like that. If you have a disintegration array defense, you could gravity. So if gravity is warped, is a 0. It's just so cool. So a chemical attack to a force field is a 0. You're gonna have a tough time hitting that guy unless you got some cool numbers. And then level modifiers. It's look at the blast. This like the range, how far away you are, affects if you hit. So keep in mind this is 30 inches, which is time size. That's 150 feet. So I house ruled this to actually just be feet, because it is harder to hit farther away. So if you're 30 feet away, that's fine. That's in this game. I always just call that point blank range. But if you're 31 feet to 60 feet away, you have -1 to hit, stuff like that. Cool. And here's the weapons. Like fists are the basic HT. If you have a damage, +1 to hit. HTH meaning hand-to-hand damage, +1 die 2. And it's just so cool. You add. It's pistols. So these don't have modifiers because these are innate. It doesn't matter how strong you are when you have a pistol. Just so cool. And it's got the ranges. Agility makes it so that you can aim. I don't know why I can't turn the page. I gotta lick my fingers that I hate doing. You've seen how filthy my fingers are. Now muscle powered throwing weapons, small bombs, stuff like that. And this was brilliant. This is just like generic. Like you pick up a car. So you look at the car. The car weighs 2,000 pounds. It gives you +3 to hit, and it does HTH +1 die 12. So, the Hulk's picking up a car, you're going to really smash somebody. And then you could throw it. That's how far you're accurate. You could throw it farther probably, but that's how far you're accurate with. And then speed kills. So like, if you get thrown into a wall these are inches per turn, you divide by 4.4, and that gives you miles per hour and blah, blah, blah. But you use the movement points of the game, and that'll, velocity is, my players have learned, it is one of the most dangerous things in the game. And then this is just like reaction modifiers, stuff like that. And then this is creating a game. These are just like seed ideas, stuff like that. This was chess. That was like their shield. I used chess in the game for a long time until I decided I wanted to make my own thing. And I'm not going to reveal that because that's going on in the story right now. And then this is like rolling up random characters, backgrounds and stuff like that. Their age, training bonuses, stuff like that. You could do everything totally random. And this I love. Knowledge areas. Everybody starts with 2 knowledge areas. And I generally let them pick unless they want to do everything random. But if you want to do it random, which is so much fun because it to me, when you make up a character, they don't get pulled together until you come up with the knowledge. And this is like what you like in your identity. Usually when I play with people for the first time, again, you know how it is with Dungeons & Dragons. You can make up your own house rules, stuff like that. I have you make up your Peter Parker guy before you make up Spider-Man, and then we kind of do like a little bit of a half adventure without any powers, just to get you to roll dice and learn anything, and then you get your powers usually at the end, and that keeps them excited to come back to play again. you know, I like to think I've been doing this for, geez, 40 years. You know, I like to think I'm pretty good at it. And this, if you can't come up with an idea, you could roll and it generates an adventure for you. It's pretty cool. And then this is just, I don't know if they needed to pad the book or whatever, but this is just like laws. Look at all these pages of just the American justice system. And then like superhero code, you know, merchandising and inventions. This became a big deal in my game. New equipment, one-shot inventions. And then here's like, just like an example of play. You know, guy loses his intergalactic library card. Just so cool. Here's a NPC character sheet. You can see his hit points are 7. This is, you know, this is the superhero name Nomad. I don't know if this is one of their player characters that they use. Lightning Fist. We use this guy all the time. And this is like a pre-generated gang. I use this over and over and over again. So speed conversions, you know, it already told you how to. The only thing was falling damage. I thought was the. And then this is structural rating. This is, you know, how many hit points you had to do in one shot. It was all or nothing. So if you punched aluminum for 7 damage, your hand would take 7 damage. If you punched aluminum for 8 damage, your hand would take 8 damage. But if you punched it for 9 damage, you would put a 10-foot hole in aluminum. You know, otherwise Aunt May could bash out of adamantium sooner or later. Adamantium's 30 in one shot. So it's just so cool. Then here's like little animals, apes, bears, whatever. You know, this is like, the problem with this was it was all self-contained. So you didn't need, it was like Dungeons & Dragons. It was like crack. You had to keep buying stuff. This was all self-contained. There was anything other than this. Look at that wonderful comic book page. Anything other than this was supplemental. You didn't need it. This was all you needed. This and imagination. And I loved it. To me, it cured all the problems of Dungeons & Dragons in that you rolled, everything was like you rolled an 18 strength, and then you rolled die 4 for hit points, and you got 1 hit point. Yes, you got a modifier, but big deal. Now you had 3 hit points. But this was, if you had an 18 and everything, your first level character had like a 30 hit points while everybody else had 7. You were a Hulk. But if you read the Avengers, you know, Hulk is on the same team with the Wasp. You know, everybody's different, but everybody should have a specialty and an expertise, and a good GM should take that into account. And that stuff makes the game fun, that everybody has it. You know, you don't want everybody to be the Hulk on the team either. You know, that doesn't make too much fun. So now I'm going to show you my computer screen. This is the Villains and Vigilantes forum. So if you go into Google and you know, and type in the Villains and Vigilantes forum, you're going to find me, John Longbox. I created this. I've had this up and running for, 20 years, 21 years, 22 years. Yeah, probably that, maybe even longer. And this is my website. And for a long time, I was the only active V&V presence on the internet. If you know, believe me, I scoured everything. It's mostly dead now because I post like once a month now because after I moved, we haven't really played. But I keep all my story ideas. So this is like house rules. This is just like a welcome. The Fortress of Solitude is for you to post your characters. House of Ideas. This is just house rules. And this is my story. So you can go here and I do a write-up of all my stories. You can see that I came up with the Upside Down first, not Stranger Things. Me. It's stamped in there. I came up with it years before Stranger Things. The Citadel. This is info on publications, articles, movies, TV, you know, Hero Talk. This is just general nerd talk for polls. And then this was a friend of mine. This was his campaign. House Rules was the first one. And if you click here, it brings you up my house rules. And you can see all my house rules. And at one point, Scott Bizarre had contacted me and wanted to incorporate my house rules, but there was a lawsuit going on, and I didn't want to get involved in any of that. So, you know, if you're interested, join up. You know, this kind of dead. We need a fresh new group of people. So that's the Villains and Vigilantes forum. You know, I own this. I pay for my friend Paul. He's the co-administrator. He's the tech guy. I don't know anything about computers, and this forum would not exist without Paul. You know, he's the unsung hero of this. Really, really is. Thank you so much, Paul, if you're watching this video. This forum would be dead without you. And every once in a while, there's like a bad problem, and he's just a wizard who fixes it all. Because really, to tell you the truth, the only thing I care about is these are all my story write-ups. You know, after a session, I write it up, you know, like a comic book, and tell you the story. So you could literally see 20 years of my stories. And if you're into comic books, please don't tell my players what comic books I ripped my stories off from. Thank you, please. Shh, secrets. All right, so at one point, you know, Villains and Vigilantes was kind of dead for like 20 years. You know, nobody was interested in it or whatever. And I was, like I said, me and my friends were like, literally, like me and like 5 other people were the only people that were keeping Villains and Vigilantes alive online. And I got contacted by Jeff D. And I was all excited. And he was just a jerk. Never meet your heroes, people. I can't stand him. I'm leaving my biases wide open. I don't want to talk to him. I was Facebook friends with him. I don't want to have anything to do with that self-righteous jerk. You know, thank you for creating Villains and Vigilantes. Now go away. And, you know, so less said about that, the better. I probably shouldn't even have brought it up, but I did. So anyway, Villains and Vigilantes, a lot of fun. I'll break out a few modules every once in a while, but I want to get back to comic books. 2 days in a row without comic books. I don't want to chase away any of the subscribers that I have. So let me know if you like more role-playing stuff. This is superheroes, so to me this is comic book stuff. I mean, Jeff D did a comic book. Jack Herman wrote the Elementals. So this is, you know, comic book adjacent, you know, like, but I just love this game. Anybody else play this game? You know, I unabashed love this game. I would play it tomorrow if my friends could, but you know, getting adults to do stuff in this day and age is like herding cats. All right, so thanks a lot. Let me know if you enjoy this. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day to watch my videos. This is fun for me. I love Villains and Vigilantes. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.